So, whether your face is drenched in sweat or perhaps just a glossy shimmer on the surface of your skin, you are losing water while you exercise. There are various factors that come into play when it comes to physiological responses to exercise and sweating. They vary from apparel, acclimation, age, body type, genetics, but primarily it varies from individual to individual. Sweating is a vital key to exercise, especially in hot climates. In order to excel in sports and exercise, one must understand how the body will respond to the heat and how it uses sweat to cool the body.
A major factor of exercising in the heat is your body's cardiovascular function. Exercise increases the demands on your cardiovascular system, and heat enhances the demand. During exercise in hot conditions, blood is transferred to working muscles and in the skin. This results in transfer of heat throughout the body. Two things happen in response to exercise in the heat. Your cardiac output increases by increasing heart rate and contractility or stroke volume. Blood flow also reduced at non-essential areas and it increases to the working muscles. When we need to increase cardiac output, we first need to withdraw the parasympathetic and then activate the sympathetic activity to increase the blood flow. An increase in cardiac output causes the body's core temperature to increase. The body's response to this increased temperature is to sweat to help cool the body off. As radiation, convection, and conduction increase in the heat during exercise, it is important for the body to sweat so the sweat can evaporate and help limit these heat factors. Increased dependence on evaporation leads to an increased demand to sweat. High sweat rates also lead to lower blood volume because of the sweat leaving the body. This sweat leaving the body decreases the blood pressure, which in turn leads to a lower amount of blood returning to the heart. Performance is also impaired due to heat because of your body's thermal comfort. Decreased thermal comfort leads to decreased performance. This includes increased core and skin temperature, which is impacted by sweat.
Heat dissipation is vital for human survival during exercise and heat stress. There are 2 to 5 million sweat glands in the human body, generally divided into two types. The first, apocrine glands, which are known as nervous perspiration and are mainly found in the face, axilla, and genital regions. These areas tend to sweat more during moments of nervousness. The second type are the eccrine glands, and those are distributed nearly around the entire body surface and play a huge role in thermal regulation. That's why different parts of the body sweat more than others, depending on the sweat glands found in the region, and it varies from individual to individual. Sweat excretion is controlled by the preoptic anterior hypothalamus, or the POAH. The hypothalamus is responsible for homeostasis functions like body temperature, thirst, hunger, and sleep. Increased blood temperature causes the POAH to transmit signals through the sympathetic nervous system, which causes the eccrine sweat glands to release sweat. Sweat rate affects the reabsorption of electrolytes. Electrolytes regulate nerve and muscle function, hydrate the body, balance blood acidity and pressure, and help rebuild damaged tissues. Sodium and chloride are the main electrolytes expired from the body, which are found in sweat. That's why a lot of athletes drink Gatorade or Powerade, which are glucose electrolyte solutions, to reabsorb those electrolytes during high intensity exercises. The higher the sweat rate, the lower the amount of electrolytes reabsorbed, and the lower sweat rates reabsorb more electrolytes into the tubules. Sweat rate is correlated to the hydration status from water and electrolytes. Trained athletes have a lower electrolyte concentration compared to untrained athletes due to higher sweat rates. Rehydration is also important to replace the lost fluids after exercise.
An example of this would be with baseball players. If you ever go to a baseball game and you notice a player has a hat with white stuff all over it, this would be excess sodium that's absorbed by the hat that did not get absorbed by the athlete himself. This is common with athletes that have a higher sweat rate than with athletes with a lower sweat rate. Different body styles lead to a wide range of sweat released. An experiment run by Davis, Baker, Barnes, Ungaro, and Stofan in 2016 observed football players and how their different body styles and positions affected their sweat rate. We gathered that a person's sweat rate can range from 1 to 3 liters per hour of sweat. Different body characteristics play a role in the amount of sweat a person releases. Football players, for example, have a wide range in the amount they sweat because of the different body makeups and their position requirements. Linemen, the big men on the football team, have a higher sweat rate because of their higher body mass index, higher body fat percentage, and lower aerobic capacity. The skill players, which are the wide receivers, cornerbacks, safeties, have a lower sweat rate because of lower body mass and fat percentage. They are also moving around more, which helps with heat dissipation, which helps cool the body as well.
Age differences also play a role in sweat from exercise in hot environments. Children are less efficient thermal regulators than adults because their bodies are still developing. Elderly people are also less efficient as they get older. Children dissipate less heat through evaporative sweating and more through convection. Convection is losing body heat through the movement of flowing air or water. Those with high levels of body fat are more susceptible to heat stress because they dissipate less body heat. Younger individuals have a increased metabolic heat production per kilogram of body weight than adults. In case you haven't noticed, what you wear during exercise might have an impact on your performance. Clothing acts as a barrier to evaporative and connective cooling and presents a threat to the maintenance of cellular homeostasis during exercise. A general example of this would be a football player and a soccer player, both playing in the same weather, but due to all the gear that a football player has, he might be sweating more and not being able to evaporate it as efficiently as a soccer player. In hot environments, clothing acts as a barrier to thermal balance by inhibiting the evaporative and connective cooling. Clothing components are critical influences on the amount of sweat absorbed from the skin and transported throughout the body. That's why these big companies have spent a lot of research and a lot of money developing fabrics, the fitting, and the construction of clothing to help athletes perform at elite levels. A perfect example of this would be like Nike Dry Fit.
Heat is a major factor during exercise, and sweat is the body's response to keep the body cool. Paying attention to the different factors that influence sweat can help aid a person's performance and not let the effects be so prominent. Factors such as the kind of clothes you wear, intaking enough water and electrolytes, and being mindful of your body type can give an athlete a boost when they are exercising in the heat. Over time, it will become easier for a person to perform in the heat because they will adapt to the environment they exercise in. Things like the cardiac output and sweat rate will be more controlled with higher trained athletes, and this will help the athlete take the steps they need to improve their exercise performance.